Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarashi Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha. Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanyatrambike Devi Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namaste Say, Namaste Say, Namaste Say, Namo Namaha. Om Aim Bhreem Kleem Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Om Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahasaraswati Rupena Samstita. Namaste Say, Namaste Say, Namaste Say, Namo Namaha. Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 2nd of September 2025. I want to offer my pranams, prostrations to all the great sages present on the planet today, to all the great devotees, and to Bhagavan residing in the heart of every being at all times, in all places. With that bhavana and prarthana, we are continuing on a daily basis to examine the glory of Prema Bhakti. So we are continuing, and we have been continuing, to examine multiple ways to open the doorway into uninterrupted love. Uninterrupted Prem, that is Prema Bhakti, Prem Lakshana Bhakti towards Paramatma. We have been looking for the last week or so on the connection between Ojas, this conserved, very powerful, intense, refined energy that is available for us, that takes a dimensional jump into bhakti. So our last 10-12 days have been on this, and it will continue for a while on this also. It is a very interesting question, because the entire energetic structure inside the brain, the spinal cord, our senses, our physical body, etc., it can easily be disturbed. Very, very quickly it can get disturbed. It does get quite disturbed, in fact, for many reasons. But when there is very clear destination, with the analogy that was explained yesterday, about the space shuttle analogy, when there's a clear, absolutely clear destination where there is no doubt in the destination, then the process of refinement inside into Ojas, so the Shakti becomes refined into Ojas, that process gets uninterrupted. So it is an uninterrupted development of the highest quality Shakti, which is very refined energy inside the brain and the mind. Brain, mind, spinal cord, personality. Remember, mind meaning thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. That's the 565. Remember that. So that is our inner world, Antakarana in Vedanta. It is the refinement of the Shakti inside. So from the Vaishnava Parampara, as we have been examining, this is part of the Haladini Shakti of Shri Radharani. Radhika ji ki jo Haladini Shakti hai, that is the intensity of transcendental love that flows from Shri Radha to Shri Krishna. And we get a glimpse of that, we get a drop, a nectar of that in this Ojas, because we are also connected to that reservoir all the time. We are not separate from that reservoir, from that intense prema. But to go into that state, there is a development on an hour-to-hour, day-to-day basis where the destination is absolutely clear. Dheyo Narayano Hari. The Ojas is really, really developed absolutely to its highest level. This is, if somebody really wants this, it can happen. Absolutely, it can happen without any doubt. And this is what we were looking at yesterday. with regards to Bhagavad Gita chapter 14, verse number 4, that connects with this. Tat tataha padam tat parimargitavyam. Actually, there's another slide I want to show you. So we were looking at this, and it is a very, very systematic progression into that state of realization, where there is no more diversion from the goal. What tends to happen in any bhakta's life, any mumukshu bhakta, any sadhak, there's some progress, some excitement, this and that, and then there's some diversion, some diversion. Eventually, a point comes as the journey continues, that diversion stops. That is a very significant development in spiritual life, that the diversion stops. There's no more diversion. Yes, we want to get to that, and this is the whole point of the actual teachings of the chapter 15 of the Gita, where Bhagavan Krishna is absolutely clear, that there is no more falling back. There's no more falling back at all from that extraordinary, beautiful state. And just hold on one second. I'm trying to... Yeah, it's number 4. This is the verse we were looking at yesterday. That tataha padam. If you look at the padached actually in this slide, very, very important. This is exactly the point, that this parimargitavyam means we are on the path. There's a path that is undisturbed path. That is the barometer. Are we on that? That is the question. Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam. That parimargitavyam, marga means path. Parimarga, as we were saying yesterday, thorough. It is like an undistracted, one straight shot into the divine tattva, divya tattva. Tat padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyah tameva chadyam purusham prapadde yatah pravrutti prasruta purani. This is the real question, that as we set this destination, we are performing all actions in the light of consciousness of the presence of Bhagavan. In that divine light, Divya Prakash, all action is being performed. Setting that direction, setting that goal through the various yogic processes, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Jap Yoga, Mantra Yoga, various yogas, that destination is set by the Bhakta, that this is what is to be realized. Tat padam, tataha padam. Tataha padam, padam means that abode, that extraordinary evolved state, that dham, call different ways to think about it, that highest state of realization. Pad can also mean position, but it's not any egotistical position. It is a position of the transcendental planets, the transcendental world outside the material dimension. You see, so we have the material existence, and then there is the spiritual existence itself. Let's talk about that a bit. The spiritual planets are called the Vaikuntha planets. This is based on the Vaishnava Parampara. So the material world is only 1/4 of the creation. The 2/3 is all spiritual dimension. So when we evolve into higher bhakti, material world is no longer going to affect the sadhaka or the bhakta in any way to deflect from the highest realization. Not anymore, because the material world is made out of the 3 gunas of Maya. It is going to continue in that direction forever. There's no time where it is not going to continue. It is going to continue all the time, forever this way. Creation, sustenance, destruction, 3 gunas of Maya, jivas coming, going with different bodies. Wo chalega hi. That's not going to change. what can happen is we can evolve out of it. That is a possibility before this body ends. Because there's a shrinking amount of time with this sharir. Every moment that goes by, it never comes back. It cannot come back. Impossible. Impossible. Other things come and go. Health, wealth, name, fame. So much comes and goes in life. Everything else can come and go, but except for time. Samay kabhi aata hi nahi. And this is where Bhagwan Krishna in this verse, Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam, setting that destination and then not deflecting from that destination, that is where Ojas comes into the picture. Ojas is our inherent, refined buddhi, refined shakti. Another way to put it, the entire TEMD complex, our thoughts are refined. They become ojasvi, vichar ojasvi ban jate. Aham ojasa, Bhagwan Krishna. This word is from the Gita. This word ojas is in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 15. And as I mentioned, we are doing a very detailed series of contemplative recordings on chapter 15. We started it last week. We'll be spending about 25 hours on each verse at some point. So we'll be having everything recorded, and then it'll be available on YouTube. Very systematic analysis of every single word of chapter 15. Chapter 15 has 20 verses, has उसमें पूरा अध्यात्म, पूरी गीता है इसमें, पूरा भागवत, everything is there, all acharyas, all commentaries, everything is in those 20 verses. We're going to open it up by the grace of Bhagwan Krishna. It's an opportunity to do this, right? This is where Ojas, so the word Ojas is from chapter 15. And Aham, Bhagwan Krishna says, I am that Ojas. So where is that I am that Ojas? That is inside of us. And so when we recognize that, develop that, we don't waste it. We don't waste it by worry, tension, fear, all that. I don't want to keep saying those things again and again, but just as a reminder, the shadripu, the negativities, rag, dvesh, ये तो सब childish बात है. इसको तो कोई स्थान ही नहीं है अध्यात्म में. This thing there's no place for any of that at all. किसी के साथ भेदभाव रखना, किसी के साथ ईर्ष्या करना, these are childish things. This is the kindergarten level stuff. It has to go. Then we can reach something tremendous beyond that. Getting angry with small things. ये सब छोड़ो, इसका कोई point ही नहीं है. There's no point in even analyzing that trash. You recognize it, take it, dump it out. इसका analysis करने से क्या मिलेगा? It's only more trash will come out of that. Nothing will. Analyzing trash will only is also trash. Yeah, if you can analyze it and try to get out of it, that's one thing. But otherwise, it's just meaningless, right? इसको छोड़ देना. विहाय कामान यह सर्मान पुमान शरति निस्पृह. This is the foundation. That is the krupa of Shri Radha. Radhika ji ki daya, krupa, karuna kya hai? That she blesses and forgives everybody. That is the Mahashakti. सब देवी का स्वरूप तो एक ही है. In terms of the Vaishnava parampara, that is Shri Radhika ji, Radha Rani. And she is the Mahabhav Swarupini. We've been talking about that before. So that krupa is where all of this deficiency goes away. It goes away by grace. And then one is set. There's a readiness. एक तैयारी हो जाती है जीवन में. What is that readiness? Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam. Readiness to walk that path, take that path towards Paramatma while living in the world without raga dvesha, without aham and mamatva, without any kind of damage to ojas shakti, without damaging anybody else's life also, keeping the right kind of interaction and distance with the people that are stuck inside the three gunas of Maya. You cannot be stuck with them, with their agnan, but love them, wish well for them, but do not be stuck with anybody in this sansar. Not one person even, except Bhagwan ke bhakta. Or bhakta not in terms of the personality, in terms of their bhakti, recognize their greatness. That's it. But not get into people's personal life. Stay away from people's personal lives as much as possible. Personal life में जाना है, भगवान कृष्ण के personal life में जाना. चरित्र, लीला चरित्र. Yes, we have, there's no question. We understand people's personal, we are so lost in other people's personal lives. What we will get out of it. Understand to some extent, we have to maintain, understand it, do what we can, never get stuck with anybody. Who is saying this? Sachin is not saying that, Bhagwan Krishna is saying that. Sachin is only repeating it. Bhagwan Krishna स्वयं कहते, मैं आपको बताता हूँ श्लोक. Every statement being made here by this bhakta is supported by the shastras. Not a single statement is going to be made that doesn't have a scriptural background or background of the great sages. हमारा तो कुछ है नहीं, उनका है सब, उनकी कृपा है. We are just trying to do seva this way. That's all it is. It's not like some concocted imaginary thing we're making. ऐसा नहीं है. And Bhagwan ki Vani, wo Paravani hai. That is the actual words of the Gita are Param Satya. So when Bhagwan Krishna says that you are to seek this Param Tattva, Tat Padam, Tat Parimargitavyam, to go into that. So how does that happen? When does that happen? Now again, the point here is that it happens when there is asangatva. This is a very interesting point. Asanga shastrena dridena chitva. It's actually, I think it's this verse. I'm not looking at that right. Maybe it's the previous one. Somewhere here. Yeah, it's right here. It's the verse 15.3. You see, so this last part of this verse, you can see it here. Asanga shastrena dridena chitva. That is the master key that will destroy every type of entanglement inside the sansar. So he's talking about cutting down this upside down tree from the mind. This is an analogy that is given here. That asanga means what? Asanga doesn't mean you're breaking relationships with people. Kisi ka sang nahi hai isme. There's no entanglement with anybody else's life. बहुत important point hai ye. It's very difficult to understand, particularly with family members, close friends. We love them, we know about each other's lives. पर इसमें असंगत्व रखना. मेरा कौन है? भगवान के दो चरण. That's it. Not any family member, not any friends, not any human being, not any animal. कुछ भी नहीं. Those are just covers. They're just literally coming and going. मेरा नहीं है, कोई नहीं. This is what Bhagwan Krishna is saying. He says, see this. He says, with roots well grown, with the firm sword of non-attachment. So with the firm sword of non-attachment, cutting this ashwatha, with whose roots are well grown, with the firm sword of non-attachment. What does that mean? Again, these words are not adequate. This translation, asanga means that our internal emotions, thoughts, memories, etc., they are not absorbing the entanglement of another person, because they're already stuck somewhere. That the way that person or situation is stuck is not getting stuck inside of us. That is what we call asanga. Asanga doesn't mean we don't love. We love, understand, we know everything about our family members, our friends, of our extended family members, of the people in the world, the news people, the politicians. We know all that thing. Asanga shastra, isko cut kar dena inside completely. इसके लिए हिम्मत चाहिए. ये भगवान की माला है ना. That is the weapon. What is the weapon to cut this down? Bhagvat Naam. श्री कृष्ण का नाम, राम का नाम, भगवान राम का नाम, शिव का नाम, दुर्गा देवी का नाम, राधा जी का नाम, भगवान का नाम. नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया? Naam is everything. Hari Naam Kirtan. In fact, let me show you something interesting. Let me get it. Hold on one second. This is I just got this book actually just from the ISKCON temple. I don't know if you can see this. Shri Namamrut. It's a very beautiful compilation of the power of the holy name. So this is from ISKCON, and they compiled, some devotee has compiled Swami Prabhupadaji's teachings on the holy name, from all of his discourses and all that. That is the weapon. Bhagwan ka swarup, the murti vigraha, holy name, the divine name, and holding inside with a tremendous amount of shraddha the verses of chapter 15 of the Gita. Chapter 15, even if you don't read the whole Gita, read the whole Gita, obviously. Chapter 15 is the absolute essence, and every word, asanga shastrena, bring it inside. Now, Sachin is speaking for Sachin. I'm not telling anybody anything. This is only when we give the exposition, we give for ourselves and share with others. That's all. But this is a very big thing. It's a highly evolved state, but it should be very clear. If this is even slightly misunderstood, one can wind up in some distortion and cause problems in life. It is extraordinary love for all people around us, and at the same time, complete asangatva. Both together. How that is possible? इस पर मनन करना चाहिए. ये कैसे possible है? How can I say that Sachin has mother, Sachin has brother, Sachin has this? We have our family members. Absolute love. इसमें अहंकार नहीं. ममत्व नहीं. अहम ममत्व. The mixture inside. Somebody said this thing, that thing. ये सब चलता है. That trash has to be out completely. And then with that, there's the interaction is a loving, caring, in the relative way. One has to be aware and at the same time interact in the best way without, this is the key point about asangatva, without internalizing the other persons or other situations in the way that person is stuck inside the sansar, not to internalize that for yourself. And you will notice as we evolve in Brahma Vidya, we'll see that 99.9999999 beings are trapped inside Maya. That doesn't mean I'm something great or no. We can see it because of the play of Maya, the Leela of Maya, whatever. We can see it. It is not, we have to be very careful. Because in chapter 15 again, Nirmana Moha Jita Sangadosh, there's no sense that I am better than you. Aisa nahi hai. It's like 50% of this equation. We can see that how the Mahamaya is binding, each person is rolling around inside this sansar, in the mud of the sansar. Yes. And at the same time, in that same sansar, in that same material reality, God's presence is there. What is this technology? Ye kya hai? How it is possible? How is it possible? In Delaware we have we have so many different programs going on, and we do this premier charities serve and all that. So a lot of homeless people, they're food insecure, this and that. This thought is in Sachin's mind every time when we go there. Some 200-300 people are there. And they are destitute, they're in so much trouble. We feel like strong emotion sometimes, naturally. Kaise ho sakta hai? We do what we can. But is God present there? Of course. Absolutely. The same Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha. The capacity to perceive Paramatma in every situation, while keeping in mind the relative level of existence and the way that the Jivatma is absolutely stuck and trapped and entangled and in suffering, it's to see at both levels, the relative level and the absolute level. Dono drashti, it's a vision. So what does that do for us? We can do our seva as karma yoga. We can remain free from the entanglements of the sansar. But remaining free from the entanglements of the sansar doesn't mean who cares about everybody. I don't want to do anything. I'll just sit in my room somewhere, in the temple somewhere, escape from the world. No. Work in the world. Do the activity in the world. But do not allow the distortions of the sansar to enter inside the heart and contaminate bhakti. This is called asanga shastrena dridena chitva. This is the internal technology. Sachin is just just remembering all the gurus and Paramatma to try to present this in some logical way, in some proper way. Baki This is an internal realization. But we have to talk about it. We have to start that process somehow. That's why there's an exposition given on this. But it's a tremendous thing, because that vision keeps the Ojas Shakti absolutely intact. It doesn't allow, there is no damage to the internal Shakti because of entangled bhav. We see somebody suffering, we start to suffer. We start to suffer inside. We're just adding to the suffering. Does that mean, and we consider that our suffering is love? That is not love. We think it is love. We use that word. We get so emotionally drawn because somebody else is suffering. Wo prem hai? Or is that love? Or is that karuna? Or is that compassion? We don't know, right? It's very confusing. But it is an internalization of the dukkha of the other person. So one has to maintain asangatva, not to internalize the dukh, maintain that tejasvi bhav, ojasvi bhav, or unke liye take that same energy that was being torn apart by the pain inside of feeling that, or naam ratan karna. Which is better, just to be emotionally distraught, or chant 11 rounds of Om Namah Shivaya mantra for that person? Which one is better? Tell me. I can feel sad for anybody, right? I can see somebody suffering, and then I just cry. Now I have internalized that person's pain. That's not bhakti. How is that bhakti? Because I'm resonating with that pain, and I've internalized it, and that internalization is damaging my energy. How did that help that person? This is very difficult to understand. It's difficult to explain. It doesn't help the person. It adds to the pain only. Because now you have another person suffering, which is you. You take that same energy. Remember this verse. Asanga shastrena dridena. Gita has to be internalized. And then take the name. इसके लिए प्रार्थना, इसकी कुछ सेवा करना. Do something rather than sitting around and complaining and crying and shouting and screaming and blaming. No. Do something about it. Maybe help, say some kind words, do some pratna, help that person somehow. But don't get stuck in that person's problem. That is the mixture of vairagya and bhakti. That is the word, exactly what chapter 15 is teaching us, that nirmana moha jita sangadosh, jita sangadosha, adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha. Or dvando se bahar nikalna. Dvandvair vibhajya. Let me show you the verse. Let's just show it to you, and then we'll stop. I know we could sit here for hours. I mean, there's no end to all this. It's absolutely extraordinary what the technology is inside the Bhagavad Gita. Adbhut hai. Let me see if I can just quickly show it to you. Here, this is the verse. This is the 5th verse. The 5th verse in chapter 15. See, nirmana mohaha jita sanga doshaha adhyatma nityaha vinivritta kamaha dvandvaihi vimuktaha sukha dukkha sangnaihi gacchanti amudhaha. See this word? Amudhaha. Padam avyayam tat. इससे क्या? How can there be anything greater than this? How can there be? Impossible. Impossible. There is no greater technology than this verse. Number 5. This is the whole ball game, folks. Adbhut baat hai ye sab. And as we continue in this path, that is our prarthana to Shri Radhika ji, to all the great sages, to reach this stage. To reach, or ऐसे इसको क्या कहते हैं? This is called divya. It is called divya buddhi, divya bhav, divya जीवन, divya दृष्टि. Not just शुद्ध. शुद्ध तो है, इससे भी ऊपर की level की बात है. To go beyond the dualities. So when you see somebody suffering, if a person who has gone beyond the dualities sees the person suffering, that person gets a tremendous blessing right there. because there's no internalization. There is the karuna, the extraordinary spiritual power of love that is flowing towards that person, not entangled, absorptive attachments. बहुत अद्भुत बात है ये, इसको कहते हैं श्री राधिका जी की कृपा. ओके, लेट्स स्टॉप हियर फॉर नाउ. ओम वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. ओम गंगणपतये नमः. ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः. गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डायै विच्चे. ओम ग्लौं हुं क्लीं जुं सः. ज्वाले ज्वाले ज्वल ज्वल प्रज्वल प्रज्वल ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डायै विच्चे ज्वल हं सं लं क्षं ठट स्वाहा. दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा. ओम अं कं चम टम तम पम यम शम वीं दूम ऐं वीं हम क्षम. धिजाग्रम धिजाग्रम त्रोटे त्रोटे दीप्तं कुरु कुरु स्वाहा. ओम क्रीं स्वाहा. ह्रीं स्वाहा. क्लीं स्वाहा. श्रीं स्वाहा. ओम श्रुम स्वाहा. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमो नमः. ओम क्लीं कृष्णाय गोविंदाय गोपीजन वल्लभाय स्वाहा. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमो नमः. श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. ओम ह्रीं स्वाहा.